All right, let's go over basic controls for camera 2. To turn it on, flip the bottom left switch that says on off, and that will turn the camera and display on. It's all one unit on this camera. Your focus control is the wheel on the left. You can roll it back and forth to control focus, and you see the numbers changing on the lens. Zoom is your right hand with the thumb toggle. W and T is your zoom control, and it's variable speed, so you can adjust that as well. And that's the camera zooming. Yeah, so if you, with your right hand, that knob near your index finger controls zoom speed. To turn off camera 2, just flip the switch on the bottom left off, and that will turn the camera and display off. For operation, use the full length of the dolly going back and forth. It's the only camera that does that motion, so use that, and that's it for camera 2. In this section, we're going to go over shot suggestions using examples from some of our services and an example from a Bethel conference. I've pulled a weekend service and a Seek night, at least one of each. So we're just going to scrub through and see what works and what doesn't, and I'll talk through the different shots. This first shot looks, let's see what happens. I like this. Actually, this is a medium shot from 2 with no movement. They're not panning. They're not using the dolly. It's okay. It's a good static shot, especially because you have someone in the foreground. And I like seeing, audience in those shots. So good shot from 2. This is a dolly shot. Pretty good. You can see a little bit of that parallax movement with the people in front in the foreground. This is a shot from 2 that's getting the singer kneeling. Whenever someone kneels, especially if they're leading, we got to try to find a shot like this where we can see them kneeling. If we get a shot of them waist up, basically when they're on the floor, we can't tell that they're kneeling. So I liked that this is through some people. I mean, lucky that they had a hole there, but I like that it's through people, and it gets her kneeling on the ground. Let's see. This is another tight shot from 2. I like that we're getting the light in the background, some cool flares. Same with this example. And this is a pan. That's not using the dolly. That's a pan shot. But I like the flare in that. What's this? This is the crowd example. I like this. It could be brighter. We could brighten this a little bit from the camera. But I like crowd shots, especially in moments like that with ministry. This is another example of getting lens flare. Love that from the light. Really cool. It would be even cooler if the dolly was moving. Same with this. Great framing from 2 on that shot. Let's see. This is an example of doing a tilt down from 2. I like that. That's a good option. And this is they're going back and forth on the dolly. Okay, this shot is an example of what not to do on 2. It starts off okay, and then actually I think that's one shot, and then I cut. That's 2. Okay, this shot, the operator is panning and zooming and moving at the same time, and it is not a great shot. It's too fast, and we're like, where are we going? So with 2, just make sure you pick what shot you're doing, whether it's using the dolly to go left to right. That's the ideal. I'd love to see more of that, and we'll get to some good examples of using the full length of the dolly. It's the only camera that can achieve that kind of motion, getting the people in the foreground moving at a different rate across the frame from the people in the background on the platform. I really liked this. Actually, this is a pan shot. This is not a dolly shot, but it's a really cool shot because of what's in the background. That's 3. Ignore that. This is 2. I like this example of using the dolly. What this person did in this shot was they didn't touch the pan. They're not moving the tripod head. They're moving the rolling tray that the camera sits on across the dolly. And this is my favorite use of 2 because it's the most unique from 2. Other cameras can pan and tilt, and that's fine. But 2 is the only one that can travel distance left to right laterally. And that achieves this really cool look of people in the foreground, in the audience congregation, moving more quickly across the frame than what's further down, on the platform. Same example, great shot. I don't mind that they're not in focus on stage because the heads are in focus. Good example here, using the dolly, not panning. What happens is if you try to use the dolly and pan at the same time, it's not going to be smooth. Like, it's really hard to pan while you're moving the dolly left to right, especially if you're holding the handles. what works best for me is if I'm using the dolly left to right, I'll just like use my thumb really up close to the axis of the tripod, like where it actually turns left to right on the tripod, and put a little bit of tension up there somewhere, like on the top part of the handle, really close to where the camera is, so that it takes more pressure to move it left to right, but that makes the pan smoother. So mess with that during practice. If you're not solid on it, just pick doing dolly back and forth using the tray only, not the on the track, on the poles, not using pan, because that's a pretty smooth shot. Same here. It's okay that people enter and exit frame. That's part of what makes this shot unique. Love this. People's heads were in focus, and then they pushed forward and focused on the vocalist. Great shot. This is a decent shot for message, getting people in the audience and framing up the speaker. I like this. I would maybe go a little bit tighter, but keep the same kind of proportions. It's a good rule of thirds shot, where the lower third is audience, mid third is stage, top third is the head of the speaker. So this is it's a good shot. I like this. This is the example shots of the dolly from the Bethel conference some of our staff went to. And this dolly is longer than ours, and we might experiment with this for Christmas coming up this year with a longer track and moving it. And obviously what they're doing here is this shot is way closer to people. It's not raised. It's not separated. There's not a walkway in front of the camera. It's literally just camera, then people. And they're doing a good job of panning and dollying at the same time. But you'll see the kind of movement that we're trying to get from the dolly shot is hands moving across the frame in the foreground, and then the singers in the background. And they are panning and tilting while moving. And if you're doing it intentionally, that's okay. Just see how the headroom changes there while you have out of focus hands in the foreground. It's just a really cool shot, and it's dynamic. The movement amount should change with the dynamics of the song. If it's a slow song, less movement. If it's a fast song, this is a better shot for a faster, like higher energy song. But yeah, those are some examples of shots from camera too.